The bar smelled like oil and cheap alcohol. Day One sat in the corner, his back against the wall. He always sat with his back to the wall. Old habits from the war never died. His cybernetic eye scanned the room without moving his head. Mercenaries, smugglers, and people running from something filled the other tables. Everyone here had a story. Everyone here had regrets. A message pinged on his wrist device. Anonymous sender. That usually meant good money or a trap. Sometimes both. Day One opened the message. The payment offer made him sit up straighter. 2 million credits. Enough to disappear forever. Enough to stop fighting. The job was simple on paper. Break into a prison station. Extract 1 prisoner. Get out alive. The message included coordinates and a basic station layout. No name for the prisoner. No explanation why they were valuable. Day One had learned not to ask questions when the money was this good. He finished his drink and left the bar. His ship waited at the docking bay. It was old and scarred, just like him. The hull had more patches than original metal, but it flew fast and the weapons worked. That was all that mattered. Inside the ship, Day One pulled up everything he could find about the target location. The Veltheran Empire controlled that sector. The Veltherans were known across the galaxy. They lived for hundreds of years. They had telepathic powers. They treated most other species like insects. Humans especially. Day One had fought alongside and against many alien species during Earth's final war. The Veltherans had stayed neutral, watching humanity tear itself apart. When the Terran Federation collapsed, the Veltherans had bought up human colonies for almost nothing. Now humans worked as laborers and servants throughout their empire. The prison station orbited a dead moon. Day One studied the security systems. The Veltherans relied on their technology and their telepathy. They didn't expect a human to be stupid enough or crazy enough to attack them directly. That was his advantage. Humans were unpredictable. Humans did impossible things out of spite or desperation. He spent 3 days preparing. He checked every weapon twice. He memorized the station layout until he could walk it in his sleep. He reviewed his cybernetic implants and made sure everything worked perfectly. The modifications he'd gotten during the war were outdated now, but they still made him faster and stronger than a normal human. The night before the mission, Day One couldn't sleep. Memories came back, his unit. 20 good soldiers who trusted him. He'd led them into an ambush. Only he walked out. The guilt never faded. It followed him across the galaxy. Maybe that's why he took these suicide missions. Maybe he was looking for a fight he couldn't win. He shook off the thoughts. Focus on the job, get in, get the prisoner, get out. Don't think about anything else. Day One's ship approached the prison station using a stolen access code. The code worked. The station's automated systems let him dock. So far so good. He grabbed his weapons and headed into the station. His rifle was modified for armor penetration. His pistol never jammed. His knife had killed more enemies than he could count. The station corridors were clean and bright. Veltheran design was always elegant. Everything looked like art. Even their prisons were beautiful. Day One moved quickly through the halls. His cybernetic eye highlighted the security cameras. He avoided them when possible and shot them out when necessary. An alarm started blaring. Someone noticed the dead cameras. Day One ran. Speed was everything now. He had maybe 5 minutes before the guards sealed the detention level. He planted small explosives at key junctions. Controlled chaos. Make them think he was everywhere at once. The detention level had heavy doors. Day One attached a plasma charge to the lock. The explosion was louder than he expected. His ears rang. Through the smoke, he saw guards running toward him. He opened fire. The first 3 went down. The others took cover. Veltheran soldiers were good. They'd been training for centuries, but they'd never fought someone who had nothing to lose. Day One threw a grenade and charged through the explosion. His rifle barked continuously. He took a shot to the shoulder. The armor held, barely more doors. More locks. More guards. Day One fought through them all. His augmented muscles screamed in protest. His heart pounded. Blood ran down his arm from a grazing shot. He was running on adrenaline and determination now. Finally, he reached the cell. Inside, a figure slumped against the wall. Female. Veltheran. Young by their standards, maybe only 50 or 60 years old. She looked up at him with large dark eyes. Even beaten and exhausted, she was beautiful. That alien ethereal beauty the Veltherans were known for. "Who are you?" she asked. Her voice was weak but clear. "Your ticket out of here," Daewon said. "Can you walk?" "I can try." He helped her up. She was taller than him by half a foot. Most Veltherans were. She wore torn prison clothes and had bruises covering her pale skin. Someone had hurt her badly. Someone had tortured her. "What's your name?" Daewon asked as they moved back toward the entrance. "He-Jin," she said. "Princess He-Jin of the Veltheran Imperial House." Daewon stopped. "Your royalty? Does that change anything?" "Changes the price I should have charged," he muttered. "Come on, we need to move." They ran. He-Jin was weak, but she kept up. Pride, maybe, or survival instinct. The guards were everywhere now. Daewon laid down covering fire while she scrambled ahead. His ammunition counter dropped steadily. He'd need to reload soon. They reached a junction where Daewon had planted explosives earlier. He triggered them. The explosion tore through the corridor behind them. Debris and fire blocked the passage. It would buy them 30 seconds. "Maybe a minute." "The docking bay," Daewon said. "We're almost there." But as they rounded the final corner, a full security team waited. 20 soldiers with weapons raised. Behind them stood an officer in decorated armor. He smiled coldly. "The human thinks he can steal Imperial property," the officer said. "Kill him. Take the princess back to her cell." Daewon pushed He-Jin behind him. His rifle was nearly empty. His pistol had one magazine left. His body was already battered and bleeding. The odds were impossible, he smiled. "You want her?" Daewon said. "Come and take her." The officer gave the order to fire. Energy bolts filled the corridor. Daewon dove behind a support column, pulling He-Jin with him. The metal column shook as plasma fire hammered into it. His armor was already damaged. Another direct hit might kill him. "Stay down," he told the princess. She looked at him like he was insane. Maybe he was. 20 against 1. No backup, no escape route. Any sane person would surrender. But Daewon had stopped being sane years ago. He pulled out 2 grenades. The last ones. He threw them both in different directions. The soldiers scattered. In that moment of confusion, Daewon charged. Not away from them. Toward them. Surprise was his weapon. They expected him to run or hide. He did the opposite. His rifle clicked empty. He used it as a club, smashing it into the nearest soldier's helmet. The Veltheran went down. Daewon grabbed the fallen soldier's weapon and fired point blank into another guard. His cybernetic eye highlighted weak points in their armor. Joints, neck seals, helmet visors. He aimed for those spots. Every shot counted. The corridor became chaos. Soldiers shouted orders. Daewon moved like death itself, refusing to stop, refusing to fall. A blade pierced his side. Daewon roared in pain and rage. He grabbed the soldier's arm and broke it with his augmented strength. Another enemy hit him from behind. His vision blurred. Blood ran down his face. He could taste metal. "Behind you," He-Jin screamed. Daewon spun and fired. The officer who'd given the order to shoot fell with a hole in his chest. The remaining guards hesitated. They'd never seen anything like this. A human who should be dead but kept fighting. Kept killing. Kept protecting the prisoner. That hesitation cost them. Daewon activated his last desperate trick. The demolition charges he'd planted throughout the station. All of them at once. The entire prison shook. Lights flickered. Alarms shrieked louder. "Run!" Daewon grabbed He-Jin's hand. They sprinted toward the docking bay. The station was tearing itself apart. Explosions rippled through the structure. Guards ran in every direction trying to save the station. No one tried to stop them anymore. They reached Daewon's ship. He practically threw He-Jin inside and sealed the door. His hands shook as he started the engines. Emergency clamps held the ship in place. He overrode them with brute force, ripping the ship free. The hull groaned. Alarms inside the ship joined the station's alarms. "Strap in," Daewon shouted. The ship lurched forward. Turret fire from the station chased them. Daewon flew like a madman, twisting through the debris field around the dead moon. A blast clipped his port engine. The ship shuddered. Smoke filled the cockpit, but they were away. The station grew smaller behind them. Daewon activated the jump drive. Space twisted, reality bent, then they were gone, light years away from the prison. Daewon set the autopilot to his safe house coordinates. Then he collapsed. The adrenaline faded. The pain rushed in. He looked down at himself. His left arm below the elbow was barely attached. Plasma burns covered his back. The stab wound in his side wouldn't stop bleeding. He'd lost too much blood. You're dying, Hyojin said quietly. Not yet, Daewon muttered. Medical bay. Down the hall, she helped him walk. Each step was agony. The ship's medical bay was small and outdated. Daewon fell onto the table. His vision went dark at the edges. The computer, he gasped. Tell it your name. It will guide you. Stop the bleeding first. Hyojin moved quickly. For someone who'd been tortured and imprisoned, she was remarkably steady. She told the computer her identity. The AI activated, recognizing a medical emergency. Analyzing patient, the computer said. Critical blood loss. Multiple plasma burns. Severe trauma to left forearm. Recommend immediate. I know. Hyojin snapped. Her hands were covered in Daewon's blood. Tell me what to do. The computer guided her step by step. Apply pressure here. Inject this there. Seal the burns with synthetic skin. The worst was the arm. The damage was too severe. She had to remove it below the elbow and seal the wound. Her hands shook as she worked. Why? She asked quietly as she operated. Why did you do this? You don't know me. Daewon's eyes were half closed. Got paid. No one pays enough for this. He didn't answer. The drugs the computer had injected were pulling him under. Hyojin worked for hours. The AI helped, but her hands did the work. She'd never performed surgery before. Noble Veltherans didn't learn such things, but she learned fast. She had to. This human had saved her life. She wouldn't let him die. Finally, it was done. Daewon's vital signs stabilized. His breathing steadied. The bleeding stopped. Hyojin collapsed in a chair, exhausted. She looked at the unconscious human on the table. He was covered in scars, old wounds from old battles. His body was a map of violence. She'd felt his mind during the fight. Veltherans were telepathic. She couldn't help but sense his emotions. There'd been no greed in him. No cruelty. Just determination. Pure, absolute determination to protect her, even if it killed him. Her people thought humans were primitive, weak, short-lived and simple. This human had defeated 20 trained soldiers, had destroyed a maximum security station, had flown a damaged ship through impossible maneuvers. All while bleeding to death, Hyojin cleaned the blood off her hands. The ship continued toward wherever this safe house was. She should contact her mother. Empress Jiwoo needed to know she was alive. But first, she needed to understand this human who'd sacrificed everything for her. She stayed by his side as he slept. His face was peaceful now. Young, she realized. Maybe 30 years old. A child by Veltheran standards. But the scars on his body told stories of lifetimes of battle. Who are you? She whispered. Really? Daewon didn't answer. He slept for 3 days straight. When he finally woke up, Hyojin was still there. She'd kept watch the entire time, monitoring his vital signs, making sure he lived. You stayed, he said. His voice was rough. You lost an arm saving me, Hyojin said. The least I could do was make sure you woke up. He looked at the stump where his left forearm had been. A temporary seal covered it. Could have been worse. You almost died, but didn't. She stared at him. He was serious. He really didn't think what he'd done was extraordinary. To him, it was just another job. Just another day. I need to contact my mother, Hyojin said. She thinks I'm dead. Use the secure comm, Daewon said. Encrypt it. Hyojin made the call. The response was immediate. Empress Jiwoo's face appeared on the screen. Beautiful, ageless, powerful. Relief and rage mixed in her expression. Hyojin, the Empress breathed. You're alive. Who? A human rescued me, Mother, Hyojin said. He destroyed the prison station. He nearly died getting me out. A human? The Empress's eyes narrowed. I want to meet this human. Bring him to the palace immediately. Daewon sat up despite the pain. That's not part of the contract. The contract has changed, Empress Jiwoo said coldly. You saved my daughter. I will reward you properly. Refuse and I'll consider it an insult. Daewon and Hyojin looked at each other. He saw the worry in her eyes. Meeting an empress was dangerous, but refusing was worse. Fine, Daewon said. But I want my money first. The safe house was hidden on a moon nobody cared about. No government, no laws. Just rocks and ice and people who wanted to disappear. Daewon's ship landed in an underground hangar. The facility was small but secure. He'd built it himself years ago. Home sweet home, he muttered, limping out of the ship. Hyojin followed him. The base was functional but bare. Metal walls, dim lights, no decoration, no comfort, Just a place to hide and heal. You live here? She asked. Sometimes. When I need to vanish. She looked around the sparse quarters. One room for sleeping. One for storage. A tiny kitchen. Everything a person needed to survive and nothing more. It was sad, she thought. This human lived like he expected to die any day. Daewon collapsed on the bed. The journey had drained what little strength he'd recovered. His body needed rest, real rest, not the emergency sleep from the ship. The medical supplies are in the locker, he said. Change my bandages every 12 hours. The computer will remind you. You should be in a hospital, Hyejin said. Can't. Too many people looking for me. He closed his eyes. Wake me if someone attacks us. Within minutes he was asleep. Hyejin stood there uncertain. She was a princess. She'd never tended to anyone before. Servants did those things. But there were no servants here. Just her and this wounded human who'd saved her life. She found the medical supplies. The computer showed her how to change the bandages properly. His wounds were severe but healing. Human bodies were resilient. She'd heard that before but never believed it. Now she saw proof. The burns on his back would scar badly. The missing arm would need a prosthetic. The stab wound in his side would take weeks to fully heal. Yet he'd been walking around. Flying a ship. Making jokes, as if pain was just background noise. Over the next few days, Hyejin learned to care for him. She changed his bandages. She made him eat even when he didn't want to. She monitored his temperature and vital signs. The work was strange to her. Noble Veltharans didn't touch wounds or blood, but she found she didn't mind. Daewon was a difficult patient. He refused to stay in bed. He insisted on checking the perimeter defenses. He cleaned his weapons even though his hands shook. He was always preparing for the next fight. You need to rest, she told him on the third day. Can't, he said. Rest is how you die. You'll die faster if you don't heal. He looked at her with those tired eyes. Been dying since I was 20. Haven't managed it yet. There was pain behind those words, old pain. Hyejin's telepathic senses picked up fragments of his memories. A battle, explosions, screams, friends dying, guilt. So much guilt. What happened to you? She asked quietly. Daewon was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. Led my unit into an ambush. 20 soldiers trusted me. Only I survived. Been trying to die honorably ever since. Hasn't worked out. So you take impossible missions? Yeah. That's stupid, Hyejin said. He laughed. It hurt his wounds, but he laughed anyway. Probably. But it pays well, she shook her head. Humans were strange. They carried guilt like armor. They punished themselves for surviving. Her people didn't think that way. Veltharans believed in fate and duty. What happened, happened. Move forward. But watching Daewon struggle with his past made her sad. He'd saved her without knowing who she was. Without expecting anything. He'd nearly died protecting a stranger. That was heroic. Why couldn't he see that? On the 5th day, Daewon was strong enough to walk without limping. The medical computer fitted him with a temporary prosthetic arm. It was basic but functional. He flexed the mechanical fingers, testing the response time. Good enough, he said. Hyejin had contacted her mother twice more. Empress Jiwoo was insistent. She wanted to meet Daewon. She wanted to reward him. She wanted to understand how a human had accomplished the impossible. We should go, Hyejin said. My mother is not patient. Neither am I, Daewon said. But fine. Let's get this over with. They prepared for the journey. Daewon packed weapons. Lots of weapons. Hyejin watched him check each one carefully. You think you'll need those at the Imperial Palace? She asked. Hope not. But hope doesn't keep you alive. The flight to Velthar Prime took 2 days. The capital world was beautiful. Cities of crystal and light covered the surface. Ships moved in perfect patterns through the sky. Everything was orderly. Perfect. The complete opposite of human worlds. It's beautiful, Daewon admitted. It's my home, Hyejin said. I've missed it. As they approached, a fleet of military ships surrounded them. An escort or guards? Probably both. They guided Daewon's battered ship to the royal spaceport. When they landed, hundreds of soldiers waited, all in ceremonial armor, all at attention. This is too much, Daewon muttered. You saved the princess, Hyejin said. This is actually modest by our standards. They walked through lines of soldiers. Every eye watched Daewon. He was shorter than all of them. Scarred and rough where they were elegant. His cheap armor contrasted with their polished perfection. He looked exactly like what he was. A human mercenary. Out of place in paradise, the palace was massive. Towers reached toward the sky. Gardens filled with alien plants surrounded them. Everything gleamed. Everything was art. Day One hated it. Too exposed. Too many places for enemies to hide. They entered the throne room. It was huge. The ceiling disappeared into shadows far above. Pillars carved from single pieces of crystal lined the hall. At the far end, on a throne of white stone, sat Empress Jiwoo. She was the most beautiful being Day One had ever seen. Not human beautiful, something else. Something that made his breath catch. She looked young, maybe 40 by human standards, but her eyes were ancient, knowing. She'd lived for over 300 years. She'd ruled an empire spanning 100 worlds, and she was watching him with intense interest. "Approach," the Empress commanded. Day One walked forward. He didn't bow, didn't kneel, just walked up to the throne and met her eyes. He heard gasps from the courtiers. Apparently that was wrong. He didn't care. "You're the human who saved my daughter," Jiwoo said. Her voice was melodic but carried power. "I am. You destroyed a military prison station, killed dozens of trained soldiers, escaped through an impossible debris field, all while dying from your wounds. I got lucky." The Empress smiled slightly. "Luck had nothing to do with it. I've reviewed the security footage. What you did was extraordinary. Reckless and brutal, but extraordinary. I did the job. I'd like my payment now." Jiwoo stood from her throne. She walked down the steps toward him. Every courtier in the room went silent. The Empress stopped in front of Day One. She was taller than him. She looked down at his scarred face and damaged body. Then she did something that shocked everyone. She reached out with her telepathic power and touched his mind. Day One felt her presence, felt her reading his memories, seeing his pain, understanding who he really was. "You saved her because it was right," Jiwoo said softly. "Not for money. You would have done it for free. Maybe. You're broken inside, haunted. You think you deserve to die? That's my business." The Empress's eyes gleamed. "You're wrong. You deserve to live, and I'm going to make sure you do." Before Day One could ask what she meant, the Empress spoke in a voice that filled the throne room. "I name this human as Imperial Guardian. He will be granted land, title, and a place of honor in my court." The courtiers exploded in protest. An Imperial Guardian, a human? It was unthinkable. The position hadn't been filled in 200 years. It was reserved for the greatest warriors in the Empire. Day One just stared at her. "What?" The apartment they gave Day One was larger than his entire safe house. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the glittering capital city, furniture that probably cost more than his ship, a bathroom with water that actually ran hot. He hated it. "Too exposed," he muttered, checking sight lines from the windows. "It's the Imperial Guardian's quarters," Ye-Jin said. She'd insisted on showing him around personally. "These rooms haven't been used in centuries." "Great, I'm living in a museum," she laughed. Over the past weeks, she'd learned to understand his humor. Dry, dark, self-deprecating. So different from Veltherin wit, which was subtle and layered. Day One just said what he thought. "My mother wants to have dinner with you tonight," Ye-Jin said. "Private dinner. Just the three of us. Why?" "Because she wants to know you better." Day One looked suspicious. "I'm just a mercenary. Why would an Empress care?" Ye-Jin hesitated. She'd noticed her mother's interest too. The way Jiwoo's eyes followed Day One. The way she asked questions about him. It was unusual. The Empress had shown no romantic interest in anyone for decades. "Just be yourself," Ye-Jin said finally. "She appreciates honesty." That evening, Day One dressed in the formal clothes they'd provided. He felt ridiculous. The outfit was all flowing fabric and elegant cuts. Nothing like his combat gear. He kept reaching for weapons that weren't there. A servant guided him to a private dining room. Much smaller than the throne room. More intimate. Empress Jiwoo was already there, dressed in a simple gown that somehow made her even more beautiful. Ye-Jin sat beside her mother. "Please sit." Jiwoo gestured to the chair across from them. The dinner started awkwardly. Servants brought course after course of food Day One didn't recognize. He ate carefully, trying not to look like the barbarian everyone thought he was. The Empress watched him with those ancient eyes. "Tell me about yourself," Jiwoo said. "The real story, not the mercenary reputation." "Not much to tell," Day One said. Grew up on Earth, joined the military at 18. Fought in the federal wars, lost everyone. Became a mercenary. That's it. That's not it, the Empress said. I've read your military record. You were decorated 6 times. Received the highest honors Earth could give. You were a hero. I was a survivor. There's a difference. Why do you think so little of yourself? Jiwoo asked. Daewon met her eyes. Because good soldiers died while I lived. Because I led them into a trap. Because every night I see their faces and know it should have been me. The raw honesty silenced the room. Even Hee-jin looked uncomfortable. But Jiwoo didn't look away. She nodded slowly. Guilt, she said. You wear it like chains. Maybe. I understand guilt, the Empress said quietly. I've lived 300 years. I've made decisions that killed thousands. Sent soldiers to die for political reasons. Sacrificed colonies to maintain peace. The weight of rule is guilt, Daewon. You carry it. But you don't have to carry it alone. Something in her voice made him look at her differently. She wasn't just an empress. She was a person. A person who'd lived for centuries making impossible choices. Being strong for everyone. Never showing weakness. Why am I really here? Daewon asked. You could have paid me and sent me away. Why make me a guardian? Jiwoo smiled. Because you did something no one in my empire has done in 100 years. You surprised me. You made me feel something other than duty and boredom. Feel what? Interest, fascination, respect, she paused. Attraction, Hee-jin's eyes went wide. Daewon just stared. You're attracted to me? I'm a human. I'm going to be dead in 50 years while you'll barely age. I know, Jiwoo said. I know all the logical reasons this makes no sense. You're from a species my people consider primitive. You're scarred and damaged. You're poor by our standards. You'll die so quickly, she leaned forward, and yet you're the most interesting person I've met in a century. Mother, Hee-jin said carefully. Are you sure about this? No, Jiwoo admitted. But I haven't been unsure about something in decades. It's wonderful, Daewon didn't know what to say. An empress was interested in him. It was insane. It would cause political chaos. The nobles already hated him. This would make it worse. I can't give you what you want, he said finally. I'm not good at relationships. I'm not good at feelings. I'm good at fighting and dying. That's it. Then learn, Jiwoo said. You learn to fight. You learn to survive. Learn to live. Over the next weeks, Daewon tried. He attended court functions, though he hated them. Nobles whispered behind his back. Some challenged him verbally, testing whether he understood their culture. He didn't. He just responded with blunt honesty that either amused or offended them. The Empress seemed to enjoy watching him navigate her world. She gave him tutors to teach him Veltheran customs. He learned the basic courtesies, though he refused to play political games. When nobles asked his opinion, he gave it honestly. When they tried to manipulate him, he ignored them. You're making enemies, Hee-jin warned him one day. Had enemies before, Daewon said. These ones just use words instead of weapons. Words can kill here. Then they better start using them better. But some nobles saw opportunity. They saw a human who'd impress the Empress. Maybe they could use him or remove him. The leader of this faction was Lord Taemin, a powerful duke who'd wanted to marry Jiwoo for decades. Taemin was everything Daewon wasn't. Elegant, refined, ancient. He'd lived for 400 years. He was a master strategist and a skilled fighter. He also hated Daewon with a burning passion. One evening after a court gathering, Taemin approached Daewon publicly. Guardian, he said, his voice dripping with false respect. I've been curious about human capabilities. Your reputation suggests significant combat prowess. I can fight, Daewon said simply. Then perhaps you'd accept a friendly match. Tomorrow, in the training arena, so we might all see what a human warrior can do. It was a trap. Everyone knew it. If Daewon refused, he'd look weak. If he accepted, Taemin would humiliate him in front of the court. Maybe kill him. There were no rules against accidental deaths in training. Sure, Daewon said. Why not? The court buzzed with excitement. A match between the upstart human and the legendary Lord Taemin. It would be entertaining. Most expected Daewon to be destroyed within minutes. That night, Hee-jin came to his quarters. She looked worried. You don't have to do this. My mother can stop it. That would make it worse, Daewon said. I'll fight him. He's fought for 400 years. He's never lost. Everyone loses eventually. Day one, he'll kill you. He looked at her and smiled. Been hearing that my whole life. Still here? Heejin realized he wasn't going to back down. Stubborn human pride. Then let me help you. I know his fighting style. I can teach you our techniques. They spent the night training. Heejin showed him Veltharan combat forms. They were elegant and efficient, based on telepathy and perfect timing. Daewon absorbed what he could, but adapted it to his own style. Brutal, direct, unpredictable. You're supposed to flow, Hyajin said in frustration. I don't flow. I hit things until they stop moving. Despite her worry, she laughed. You're impossible. Yeah, but I'm still alive. The next day, the arena was packed. Every noble in the capital came to watch. The Empress sat in the royal box, her face unreadable. Heejin sat beside her mother, hands clenched in her lap. Daewon walked into the arena wearing light armor. His prosthetic arm had been upgraded. Better response time. Stronger. He carried a training sword that was still sharp enough to kill. Taemin entered from the opposite side. His armor was ornate and beautiful. His weapon gleamed. He moved with the confidence of someone who'd never known defeat. Begin, the Empress commanded. Taemin attacked immediately, faster than Daewon expected. The Veltharan's blade sliced toward his throat. Daewon barely blocked. The impact numbed his arm. Taemin was strong. Incredibly strong, they circled each other. Taemin smiled. You're out of your depth, human. Daewon didn't respond. He was analyzing, watching, learning. Every fighter had patterns. He just needed to find them. The battle had begun. Taemin moved like water. Every strike flowed into the next. His blade came from impossible angles. Daewon blocked and dodged, but barely. Cuts opened on his arms, his legs. The Veltharan noble was toying with him, showing the crowd the difference between them. The nobles laughed. Some made bets on how long the human would last. Minutes, most said. Seconds, said others. But Daewon didn't fall. He took the hits and kept moving. Kept watching. Kept learning. Pain was nothing new. He'd fought while bleeding out before. These were just scratches. Taemin's smile faded slightly. The human should be slowing down. Should be getting weaker. But Daewon's movement stayed sharp. His eyes stayed focused. Impressive endurance, Taemin said. But endurance isn't enough. He attacked faster. Harder, his blade became a blur. Daewon's defense broke. A cut across the chest. A stab through the shoulder. He fell to one knee. Blood dripped onto the arena sand. Yield, Taemin commanded. Save yourself further embarrassment. Daewon looked up at him. Then he laughed. It was a harsh, bitter sound. You talk too much. He surged upward, faster than before. His blade swept toward Taemin's legs. The noble jumped back, surprised by the sudden speed. Daewon pressed the attack. No more defense. Pure aggression. His style was ugly compared to Taemin's elegance. He didn't flow. He smashed. He battered. He used his prosthetic arm as both shield and weapon, blocking strikes that would cut flesh. The metal sparked as blades hit it. Taemin's confidence cracked. This human was adapting, learning his patterns. And worse, the human wasn't fighting fair. He headbutted when Taemin expected a blade. He kicked dirt when he should have struck. He used every dirty trick from 100 battlefields. Fight with honor. Taemin shouted. Honor doesn't win wars, Daewon growled back. They crashed together again. Steel rang against steel. Daewon took a deep cut across his face. His prosthetic arm sparked as circuits damaged. But he gave as good as he got. His blade found Taemin's armor gaps, drew blood from the immortal noble. The crowd went silent. This wasn't supposed to happen. Taemin was a master, 4 centuries of experience. He should be dominating. But the human was matching him. Hurting him, Empress Jiwoo leaned forward in her seat. Her eyes were wide. She'd never seen anything like this. The raw determination, the refusal to quit. Daewon was losing by technical skill but winning by sheer will. Heejin gripped the railing. Come on, she whispered. Don't die. Taemin unleashed his telepathic power. He pushed into Daewon's mind, trying to confuse him, disorient him. Most opponents collapsed when faced with a telepathic assault. Daewon stumbled, his mind filled with images, fear, doubt, memories of his dead comrades. Taemin was weaponizing his guilt. The Veltharan noble closed in for the kill. You see? You're nothing. Just a primitive, shut up, Daewon snarled. He grabbed Taemin's telepathic connection like a rope and pulled. Instead of resisting the mental assault, he embraced it. He showed Taemin everything. Every battle, every scar, every friend who died, every nightmare. The sheer weight of human suffering and survival. Taemin gasped and broke the connection. He'd never experienced anything like it. The human's mind was a war zone. How did he function with that much pain? In that moment of shock, Daewon struck. His blade cut through Taemin's arm guard. The noble's weapon fell to the sand. Daewon's sword pressed against Taemin's throat. "Yield," Daewon said quietly. The arena was absolutely silent. Lord Taemin, undefeated for centuries, stood at the mercy of a human. His pride warred with survival. Finally he spoke. "I yield." Daewon stepped back. He didn't gloat, didn't celebrate. He just nodded and walked away. Blood dripped from a dozen wounds. His prosthetic arm sparked and hung useless, but he walked out on his own feet. The crowd exploded. Some cheered. Some shouted in outrage. A human had defeated a Veltheran noble. It was impossible. It was unthinkable. It was done. Empress Jiwoo stood. Her voice cut through the chaos. "The match is concluded. The Guardian has proven his worth. Any who question his position may challenge him as Lord Taemin did." And received the same result. No one spoke. The message was clear. The human had earned his place. That evening, Daewon was in the medical bay again. Doctors worked on his wounds. The prosthetic arm needed complete replacement. His body was a mass of new cuts and bruises, but he was alive. The Empress entered. The doctors immediately bowed and left, giving them privacy. Jiwoo approached the bed where Daewon sat. "You're insane," she said. "Heard that before. You could have died, but didn't." She reached out and touched his face, carefully avoiding the new cuts. "Why do you do this? Why do you keep risking everything?" Daewon was quiet for a moment. "Because if I stop fighting, I start thinking. And thinking is worse than fighting. What do you think about? All the people I couldn't save. All the mistakes. All the reasons I should be dead instead of them." He met her eyes. "You said you understand guilt. I think you do. You carry it better than me. But you carry it." Jiwoo sat beside him on the bed. "I've ruled for 300 years. Every decision cost lives. Every choice leaves scars. I've become so good at being strong that I forgot how to be anything else. Being strong isn't bad. It is when it's all you know." She looked at him. "You make me want to be something other than strong. You make me want to be real. I'm not good at real either. Then we'll learn together." She leaned in and kissed him. Soft, gentle. Nothing like the violence of the arena. Daewon froze, unsure how to respond. He'd forgotten how to be soft, how to be gentle, but he tried. He kissed her back carefully, like she might break, though he knew she was stronger than him in every way that mattered. When they parted, Jiwoo smiled. "You're terrible at this. Yeah, I warned you. I don't mind. We have time." "You have time," Daewon corrected. "I've got maybe 40 years left." Her smile faded. "Don't say that. It's true. I'm human. We burn bright and fast. Then we're gone. Then we'll make those 40 years matter," Jiwoo said firmly. "Every moment. Every day. We'll make them mean something." Over the next weeks, their relationship deepened. They spent evenings talking about everything. Her centuries of rule. His decades of war. They were from different worlds, different species, different lifespans. But somehow they fit. The court was scandalized. An empress taking a human as a lover was unprecedented. Some nobles whispered that it was just fascination. It would fade. She'd tire of him, but those close to Jiwoo saw the truth. She was happier. She laughed more. The cold distance she'd maintained for centuries melted when Daewon was near. He made her feel alive in ways she'd forgotten. Hyejin watched it all with mixed feelings. She was grateful to Daewon. He'd saved her life. But seeing her mother fall for him was strange. He was so young by their standards. So temporary. One day she confronted him. "Do you love her?" Daewon was cleaning his weapons. He paused. "I don't know. Not sure I remember what love feels like." "Then why are you with her?" "Because she makes the nightmares quieter. Because when I'm with her, I don't feel like I'm just waiting to die." He looked at Hyejin. "Is that love?" "I honestly don't know." "It might be," Hyejin said softly. "For someone like you, that might be exactly what love is." But not everyone was happy about the relationship. Lord Taemin had been humiliated. His pride was destroyed, and pride was everything to old nobles. He began gathering allies. Nobles who feared change, who hated humans, who wanted things to return to how they'd always been. They met in secret, planned, schemed. If they couldn't challenge Day One openly again, they'd remove him another way, assassination. Late one night, Day One sensed something wrong. Old combat instincts. He was in his quarters and something felt off. He reached for his weapon just as the window exploded inward. 5 assassins in dark armor. Professional. Silent. Deadly. Day One rolled away from the first strike. His pistol barked twice. 2 assassins fell, but 3 more pressed the attack. Blades flashed in the darkness. He fought desperately. These weren't soldiers. They were killers, trained specifically to murder people like him. His apartment became a battlefield. Furniture shattered. Blood spilled. 1 blade found his side. Another cut deep into his leg. He was losing. There were too many. They were too good. Then the door exploded. Empress Jiwoo stood there, power radiating from her. Her telepathic abilities unleashed. The assassins screamed and clutched their heads. She was burning their minds. In seconds it was over. The assassins were dead or unconscious. Jiwoo rushed to Daewon's side. He was badly wounded but alive. Who sent them? She demanded. Does it matter? Daewon gasped. Yes, because I'm going to destroy them. Her eyes promised death. The Empress, who'd been kind and gentle with him, showed her true power. She was a ruler, and someone had tried to kill what was hers. The investigation took 3 days. Imperial intelligence tore through the assassins' networks. They found connections, money trails, communications. Everything pointed back to Lord Taemin and his faction. 17 nobles had conspired to murder Daewon. Empress Jiwoo called an emergency court session. The throne room was packed. Every noble in the capital attended. The tension was thick enough to cut. Guards lined the walls, weapons ready. Jiwoo sat on her throne, cold and terrible. This wasn't the woman who laughed with Daewon. This was an empress who'd ruled for centuries, who'd crushed rebellions and destroyed enemies. Bring forth Lord Taemin and his conspirators, she commanded. The nobles were dragged in. Some tried to maintain dignity. Others looked terrified. Taemin kept his head high, defiant even in chains. You attempted to assassinate my guardian, Jiwoo said. Her voice was ice. You violated sacred hospitality. You broke imperial law. And worst, you insulted me personally. He's a human, Taemin spat. He doesn't belong here. You've lost your mind over a creature that will be dead in a few decades. That is my choice to make. Not yours? The court agrees with me. Ask them. They all think you've gone mad. Jiwoo stood from her throne. Power rippled through the room. Every telepath felt it. She was one of the strongest telepaths in the Empire. She could kill them all with a thought if she wanted. Does anyone else share Lord Taemin's view? She asked the court. Does anyone else believe they have the right to decide who I love? Who I honor? Who I elevate? Silence. No one dared speak. Even those who agreed with Taemin stayed quiet. The Empress's rage was legendary. Several nobles had disappeared over the centuries for far lesser offenses. I see, Jiwoo said coldly. Then Lord Taemin, you and your conspirators are guilty of treason. The penalty is death. You can't, Taemin shouted. I invoke the right of trial by combat. It's ancient law. You can't deny it, Jiwoo paused. He was right. Ancient Veltheran law allowed the accused to demand trial by combat, even for treason. It was a law from more barbaric times, but it still stood. Very well, Jiwoo said. Trial by combat. Choose your champion. Taemin smiled viciously. I choose myself, and I challenge the human who shamed me. Let's see if he can defeat me when I'm fighting for my life and not playing games. The court buzzed with conversation. This was brilliant by Taemin. Win and he'd be free. Even if Daewon won, Taemin would likely kill him in the process. Either way, the Empress lost. Jiwoo looked at where Daewon stood near the throne. He was still recovering from the assassination attempt. Bandages covered his side. He limped slightly. Fighting Taemin now would be suicide. I accept, Daewon said before Jiwoo could speak. No, Jiwoo said sharply. You're wounded. You're not ready. I'm never ready, Daewon said. I fight anyway. You'll die. He looked at her with those tired eyes. Maybe, but if I don't fight, he wins. Your authority is damaged. I can't let that happen. Your life matters more than my authority. No, Daewon said quietly. It doesn't. You're an empress. You're important. I'm just one soldier, expendable. Not to me. They stared at each other. The court watched in fascination. An empress and a human connected by something none of them fully understood. I have to fight, Day One said. You know I do. Jiwoo closed her eyes. She knew he was right. If he refused, it would look like weakness. Her enemies would grow bolder. The entire political structure could destabilize. One life against millions. The math was clear, but that one life mattered to her. 3 days, she said finally. The combat will occur in 3 days. That gives you time to heal. 3 days won't make a difference, Taemin called out. But I accept. 3 days, human. Then I end this farce. The court was dismissed. Daewon started to leave, but Jiwoo called him back. When they were alone, she broke. The cold empress facade shattered. She grabbed him, holding him tight. I can't watch you die, she whispered. I'm not planning on dying. He's too strong. Even at full health, you barely beat him. Now you're injured. Then I'll cheat better this time, Daewon said. I'm good at cheating. She pulled back and looked at him. This isn't funny. I know. He touched her face gently. But it's all I've got. Jokes and stubbornness. It's kept me alive so far. I love you, Jiwoo said suddenly. I know it's insane. I know it makes no sense, but I do. And I can't lose you. Daewon was quiet for a long moment. I think I love you too. Still not sure what that means. But whatever it is, I feel it. They kissed. Desperately. Like it might be the last time. The next 3 days were intense. Daewon trained despite his injuries. Hyejin helped again, showing him more advanced techniques. But they both knew it might not be enough. He'll be using his full power this time, Hyejin said. No holding back. No mercy. Good, neither will I. Daewon, what full power? You're already giving everything. He smiled grimly. There's always more. You just have to be willing to pay the price. She didn't understand. Humans confused her. They could push themselves beyond what should be possible. It was like they didn't know when to quit, or chose not to know. The night before the combat, Jiwoo came to his quarters. They didn't talk much, just held each other, memorizing the moment. In the morning, he might be dead. They both knew it. Run away with me, Jiwoo whispered. Leave the Empire. We'll disappear. You don't mean that. I do. I'd give it all up for you. No, you wouldn't, Daewon said gently. You're an empress. Your people need you. Millions depend on you. One human isn't worth all of that. You're worth it to me. That's because you haven't had someone to care about in a long time. It's made you forget the bigger picture. She hit him lightly. Don't try to logic away my feelings. Just being honest. They fell asleep in each other's arms. When Daewon woke, Jiwoo was watching him. Tears ran down her face. He'd never seen her cry before. Don't die, she said. Please. I'll do my best. The arena was even more crowded than before. This was the event of the century. A trial by combat, a human fighting for his life and the Empress's honor. People had come from across the Empire to witness it. Daewon walked into the arena. His wounds were bandaged, but still painful. His new prosthetic arm was untested. He carried the same sword as before, simple, functional, no ornamentation. Taemin entered from the opposite side. He wore battle armor this time. Real armor, not training gear. His weapon was a masterwork blade, centuries old. Enchanted with technologies Daewon didn't understand. Last chance to yield, Taemin called out. Die with some dignity. Dignity is overrated, Daewon called back. Empress Jiwoo stood in the royal box. Her face was neutral, but her hands gripped the railing tightly. Hyejin stood beside her mother, equally tense. This combat is to the death, Jiwoo announced. Her voice carried across the arena. Ancient law demands it. May the strongest warrior prevail. Begin! Taemin attacked instantly. Faster than their first fight. Stronger. He wasn't playing anymore. His blade cut through the air with lethal precision. Daewon dodged. Barely. The sword passed close enough to cut his cheek. He rolled away and came up fighting. His sword met Taemin's with a shower of sparks. They fought across the arena. Taemin was relentless. Every technique he'd held back before he used now. Advanced forms. Telepathic attacks. His blade seemed to be in 3 places at once. Daewon took hits. A cut across the arm. A stab through his shoulder. The old wounds reopened. Blood soaked through his bandages. He was losing, badly, but he didn't fall. Didn't quit. He fought through the pain. Through the exhaustion. through the certainty that he was going to die here. "Why won't you stay down?" Taemin screamed. "You're beaten!" "Not yet," Daewon gasped. He attacked with renewed fury, using techniques that shouldn't work, fighting in ways that made no sense. He was beyond strategy now, beyond skill, running on pure determination. Taemin's blade found his stomach. Daewon felt it punch through, felt the cold steel inside him. This was it, the killing blow. But Daewon grabbed the blade with his prosthetic hand, held it inside him, pulled himself closer along the sword. "What are you doing?" Taemin asked in horror. "Winning," Daewon said, his own sword thrust forward. Taemin tried to pull back, but Daewon held him close with the prosthetic hand. The blade found the gap in Taemin's armor, slid between the ribs, pierced the heart. Lord Taemin's eyes went wide. "Impossible," he whispered. "Should have fought more humans," Daewon said. "We're all impossible." Taemin fell. Daewon pulled the sword from his own stomach and fell too. Blood pooled under him. The arena was silent, then they cheered. Humans in the crowd. Soldiers who respected courage. Even some Veltherans who appreciated such determination. Ji-woo leaped from the royal box. She didn't walk down the steps. She jumped the impossible distance and ran to Daewon's side. "Don't you dare die," she commanded. "Medical team, now!" Daewon looked up at her. "Did I win?" "You idiot. You beautiful, stupid, impossible idiot." "I'll take that as a yes." His eyes closed. Daewon woke in a medical facility, the best in the Empire. Machines beeped softly around him. His body felt strange, different. He tried to move and realized he was covered in new technology. Cybernetic repairs, organ replacements. They'd rebuilt him. "He's awake," someone said. Ji-woo appeared beside the bed. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes. "She'd been here the whole time? How long?" Daewon asked. His voice was rough. 2 weeks. "You were dying. We had to use extreme measures." She gestured to his body. "You're more machine than man now. Military-grade cybernetics. The best we have. I feel different. You should be dead. The stomach wound alone should have killed you. But you're too stubborn to die properly." She took his hand. "Don't ever do that again." "Do what?" "Grab a sword that's stabbing you and pull yourself closer." That was insane. It worked. It nearly killed you. "But it worked," Daewon repeated. He squeezed her hand. "And I'm still here." Tears ran down her face. "When you fell, I thought I'd lost you. I thought I'd let myself care about someone and they were just taken away. Like everyone is eventually taken. I'm not going anywhere. You're human. Eventually you will. In 40 years or 50, you'll be gone, and I'll still be here. Still ruling. Still alone." Daewon pulled her close despite the pain. "Then we make the most of the time we have. No regrets. No holding back. We live every day like it matters." They stayed like that for a long time, an empress and a soldier. Impossibly different. Impossibly perfect for each other. Recovery took months. The new cybernetics needed integration. Physical therapy was brutal, but Daewon pushed through it. He'd survived worse. During his recovery, things changed in the Empire. The humans working in Veltheran space heard the story. A human had saved a princess, had become an imperial guardian, had defeated Veltheran nobles, had won the Empress's heart. It gave them hope. Maybe they weren't inferior. Maybe they had value. Maybe humans could stand equal with the long-lived species. Ji-woo saw this change. She'd always viewed humans as temporary, useful but ultimately insignificant. But Daewon had changed her perspective. Humans achieved incredible things with their short lives. They burned bright. Maybe that was worth more than living forever while doing nothing important. She began implementing reforms. Better treatment for human workers. More rights. More opportunities. The nobles protested, but after what had happened, no one dared oppose her openly. Hyejin supported her mother's changes. She'd grown close to Daewon during his recovery. He'd become like a father to her. The father she'd never really had. Someone who cared without political motivation. Someone who'd literally die to protect her. "You're good for my mother," she told him one day. "I'm a mess," Daewon said. "So is she. You're just messes in different ways." Hyejin smiled. "But together you're less messy somehow." That might be the nicest thing anyone said to me. When Daewon was finally cleared for duty, Ji-woo made another announcement. This one even more shocking than making him a guardian. "I claim Daewon as my consort," she declared before the full court. "By ancient law, An empress may choose any warrior who has proven themselves through sacrifice and victory. Daewon has proven himself twice over. I claim him. The court exploded in protest. But Jiwoo's voice cut through the chaos. Ancient law is clear. Any who wish to challenge this claim may do so through trial by combat. With Daewon, she smiled coldly. Lord Taemin tried. He's dead. Who else wants to test the human? No one stepped forward. They'd all seen the fights, seen the impossible victories. Daewon was like a nightmare. He didn't fight fair, didn't quit, didn't die when he should. The ceremony was held a month later. Not a wedding by human standards. Something different. A claiming. A bonding. Ancient Veltharan rituals mixed with human customs Daewon barely understood. He stood beside Jiwoo before thousands of witnesses. She was beautiful in ceremonial robes. He wore formal armor, uncomfortable but necessary. When they spoke their vows, his were simple. I'll stand beside you for as long as I breathe. I'll fight for you, protect you, love you, until I can't anymore. Hers were more complex, more poetic. But they meant the same thing. When it was done, they were bonded. Consort and empress. A partnership that would have been impossible just a year before. The celebration lasted 3 days. Dignitaries from across the galaxy attended. Everyone wanted to see the human who'd won an empress's heart. Some came out of curiosity, others out of respect. A few came to judge whether he was worthy. Daewon handled it all with his usual blunt honesty. When nobles asked how he'd achieved such honor, he shrugged and said, "Got lucky and refused to die." When diplomats asked about his plans, he said, "Probably get shot at some more." Jiwoo found his honesty refreshing. Most people told her what she wanted to hear. Daewon told her what he thought. Even when it was stupid or wrong, it was real. Their first year together was intense. Jiwoo taught him about ruling, about politics and diplomacy and the weight of decisions. Daewon taught her about living in the moment, about finding joy in simple things, about not carrying guilt alone. They were good for each other. She made him want to live instead of die. He made her remember what living felt like. Hyejin watched them with satisfaction. Her mother was happy. Really happy. It showed in everything. The Empress laughed more, made bolder decisions, took chances she would have avoided before, and the Empire changed, slowly but steadily. Humans were given more respect, more opportunities. Some Veltharans complained about the human consort's influence, but most saw the benefits. Human ingenuity combined with Veltharan resources created innovations. Human determination inspired Veltharans who'd grown complacent over long lifespans. Daewon worked with Jiwoo to create new policies. Fair treatment for all species, merit-based advancement, end to discrimination based on lifespan or origin. It wasn't perfect. Change was slow. Some nobles resisted. Some humans didn't trust it, but it was progress. One night, 5 years after they'd met, Daewon and Jiwoo sat on a balcony overlooking the capital. The city glittered below them, beautiful and peaceful. "Do you ever regret it?" Jiwoo asked. "Staying here? Being tied to me and all the politics?" "Sometimes," Daewon admitted. "When nobles are being especially stupid. Or when I have to wear formal clothes," she laughed. "You hate formal clothes. They're uncomfortable. Give me combat armor any day. You're the Empress's consort. You can't wear combat armor to state dinners. Watch me." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Daewon spoke again. "But no, I don't regret it. Before you, I was just waiting to die. Now I have something to live for. Someone to live for. That's worth all the stupid politics and uncomfortable clothes." Jiwoo leaned against him. "I love you. I know I say it too much. You can't say it too much. I'm going to lose you eventually. Humans don't live long enough, then we make every day count. We already decided that, I know. But sometimes the fear creeps in. The knowledge that you'll be gone and I'll still be here." Daewon turned to look at her. "When I'm gone, you'll keep ruling. Keep making things better. Keep being amazing. And you'll remember me. That's all anyone can ask for. To be remembered. I'll remember you forever," Jiwoo promised. "Every moment. Every argument. Every impossible thing you survived. Every time you made me laugh. I'll remember all of it." They kissed, soft and gentle. They had time. Not forever, but enough. Enough to matter. Somewhere in the city, humans and Veltharans worked together, building something new, something better. Because one human had refused to quit, had saved a princess, had won an empress's heart, the story spread across the galaxy. Humanity, fuck yeah. One soldier had changed everything, not through superior technology or ancient wisdom, just through being impossibly stubborn, through refusing to accept that he was inferior, through proving that humans were worth respecting. Other species took notice. Maybe humans weren't primitive. Maybe they were dangerous. Or maybe they were allies worth having. The future was uncertain. It always was. But Daewon and Jiwoo would face it together. An empress who'd learned to live. A soldier who'd learned to hope. A partnership that shouldn't have worked but did, because sometimes the impossible happened. Sometimes the short-lived species won. Sometimes love conquered centuries of prejudice. And sometimes a human mercenary saved a princess and won an EM.